Hi everyone, my name is Owen McGabinowell from HYVA, which stands for HYVAssistant.com. And what I do here on my blog specifically is I go out looking for entrepreneurs who are successfully and running their business virtually, and I try and bring them on here so we can learn from their own experience, their challenges with the whole entire process of making their business virtual and running it, and also having virtual teams and all that. And today's guest is Bill Balderas from webmarketing.com. So Bill, before we get started, I want you to introduce yourself to my community and let us know a little bit about what exactly web marketing is about, first of all.
Sure. Thanks, Owen. Well, I'm the founder of Web Marketing. We're based in Columbus, Ohio, and essentially what we do is we help our clients use internet marketing to grow their organizations. So that includes things like search engine optimization, online advertising, social media, mobile marketing. If it's about using the internet to grow your organization, that's what we specialize in.
Definitely. And so where did this whole concept of what you do, where did that come from for you? Because I always try and get kind of like the background of every entrepreneur that I get on this show. Sometimes where did the idea for this business come from?
Sure, sure. For me, it started in the mid-'90s. So in the mid-'90s, there was a technology bubble, and sites like Amazon and eBay were just kind of coming into being. And what happened was there was a lot of investment in technology startups. And these organizations quickly realized that marketing online was different than marketing with broadcast or traditional media. And so this idea, for example, if you want to drive a lot of business online, you've got to be found in Google. You've got to have ads in front of the right people. You've got to be on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. And all this has evolved over the last 12 years or so. I've always worked for companies doing that role, helping them use new technologies to market. About 5 years ago, I was working a day job, but I also was working with some clients on a contracting basis. And in 2006 is really when some of the advertising capabilities online just really exploded. And suddenly you had the ability to highly target ads on search engines just to the right people. And you had the growth of sites like YouTube, and Facebook opened up to the general public. And then gradually there was this big explosion in the blogosphere. And suddenly companies had to be there. It was in 2006. It was no longer an option. You had to be marketing online, and that's really what's driven our growth. So today we are 21 people strong. In 5 years we've doubled or had double-digit growth. Every year for the last 5 years, and just continue on a rapid growth pattern.
Definitely. So I'm curious, when you started, did you start out as a location-based company where you have a physical space, or did you always start out your business saying you're going to be a virtual company?
Right. We were absolutely a virtual company. My original vision was that it'd be me sitting at the kitchen table, maybe with a couple of contractors or part-time employees helping out here or there, and that quickly grew. But up until we had probably 7 or 8 employees, we were entirely virtual. So people were working out of their home offices, people were working at coffee shops, cafes, libraries. So we really had no physical space at all for years. And it's really just been, we only graduated to a part-time office space that we would use for meetings and for we had to sit down with a client or for company meetings or group meetings. An office space we use a couple times a week. We quickly outgrew that and moved to a 2-room office. It was still very tiny, but it was full-time. We use it again mainly for meetings or client meetings, but most people still work from home. We've moved twice since then, but now we do have our own building where everyone has a desk, and if you can see, it's kind of a big open area. Everyone has a chair and a desk that they can use, but I would say about 80% of the time, our employees are still working remotely, still working from their homes or some other remote location.
Yeah, but I'm curious though, like, what was the need to even have that physical location? Because I'm thinking like that would be probably additional expense that you probably won't even need because you already were running your business virtually. What was the thought behind that?
There were a couple of things driving it. One was the need for more collaboration. So we use tools like Google Talk, and we use a web-based project management system and Google Calendar, and so we can all collaborate virtually, Skype calls like this. But there was a need to have a little more face time. Probably more importantly, though, when we meet with clients wanted to see a physical location. So there had to be a place we could sit down and meet with them aside from a restaurant or a cafe. Again, we still have very, very little work. For 21 people, our space is still very small. It's a 2-story building. I don't think all 21 people, I know this, the 21 people have never all been in here at the same time. on a typical day, there might be 6 or 8 people in the office. And then we use the space. Honestly, this space is much more used for client meetings and conference calls. So people have a quiet place to go to make conference calls, a good, professional space for meeting with clients. But I think given the nature of our work and the type of employee we tend to attract, they like to work from home. And they see that as a big benefit of why they want to work at Web Marketing. So I think, we still keep our overhead extremely, extremely low, and primarily use this as meeting space or for conference calls.
Definitely, I understand the point, because one of the things too might be, the type of clients you might have might not even be used to that whole idea of a virtual company. So you're trying to find that middle point for them where they can, initially on the onset before they become clients, or as a process of becoming clients, they can actually get to meet you guys in a physical space, and then I guess over time, kind of translate them to the point where they're dealing with you guys entirely virtually, I guess.
That's very true. We find ourselves competing oftentimes in much larger organizations. And most marketing agencies, ad agencies are known for their space. They have very creative space. They have big space. Their square foot per employee tends to be very large compared to, for example, an accounting firm or a software firm. So clients expect you to have some space. And as we worked with larger and larger clients, there was that expectation of, well, we want to come see your offices. We want to come meet your team, and to say, well, meet us at the coffee shop around the corner. We didn't really have that. But I feel like we've got a really great compromise now. Again, it's a nice professional-looking space. It's primarily used for clients to come in and meet with us, or when we need a quiet place to do calls. But employees still have that flexibility of controlling their schedule, working from home, working remotely. So I feel like we've got the best of both worlds.
Okay, so jumping into actually the main subject of this interview really is how exactly did you do that? Because in the email you sent me previously, you mentioned you had some challenges with the process of running your business virtually, and I find that sometimes as entrepreneurs we can always learn from the challenges that other entrepreneurs face, because that could teach us several things. So in the process of running your business virtually, what were those challenges initially that you had to face, and maybe even challenges that you still having to deal with right now?
Sure. The greatest challenge is collaboration. Getting the team to really collaborate. We tend to work on project teams, so we'll all focus on one client, and we might have an advertising person, a social media person, and a mobile person all working on the same client, and they need to be able to collaborate. Now they have this physical space, so they can come here and meet in person, but we also use a lot of tools. And the biggest mistake I see any entrepreneurs make, Owen, is that they save themselves into bankruptcy. They cut corners and spend. I don't want to spend on this because I can do that myself. I don't want to spend on that because I can do that in Excel. And I don't want to spend on that. And pretty soon they've saved so much money they're out of business. What I do say is don't be afraid to spend on technology. For 21 people, we license probably 6 large enterprise level software packages that companies 5 times our size have told us are too expensive. But we spend a lot on the project management software, and basically we track every task that everyone is working on every moment of the day. It's web-based, so whether they're sitting at a coffee shop or at home or traveling on a business trip, they can access this, and you can see what your entire team is doing. We can upload documents there. We can check out documents. We can make notes. We can voice concerns. All that is web-based. Our invoicing and accounting system is all web-based. Our tracking and reporting systems are web-based. Our social media monitoring system is all web-based. And basically, we take the money we would save in overhead and in office space and in desks and furniture and plastic screen TVs, and we put this into technology that makes us more effective.
Yeah, I like how you say, don't be afraid to spend on technology. And, you see, the thing is, with the way technology is going and the way the internet is making this ease of access to people all around the world, there might be this old, shiny red ball syndrome, where it's like new things that come in, how you as the entrepreneur figure out, what really makes the most sense for you as an entrepreneur to use in your business. And so how do you make that distinction between, the shining red ball syndrome, there's this new tool that everybody's talking about, and then figuring out what is most practical for you to use in your business? In your case, you said you had challenges with team collaboration. So how did you make that distinction? And maybe we can even talk about the tools you use to help beat that challenge.
Sure. One thing is we waited until something was a real challenge. So I think the mistake a lot of people make when they get the shiny red object syndrome is a really slick software salesperson calls you and convinces you have a problem you didn't know you had. That's a trap not to fall into. But I knew for a fact that we had 60 clients and 20 employees, and it was going to be an issue managing. In the course of a day, for one client, we might do 10 tasks. That's 600 tasks a day. that was a real issue, making sure those were getting done and tracked. So licensing a project management system, solved a very obvious need. But there's a few tests we do before we'll enter an agreement. One is we always ask for some kind of trial, license to that technology. A lot of times companies try to lock you into a 12-month agreement, and I understand why, but we always say, give us a trial, let us do a demo, let us really make sure it's going to fit our needs. And if the product's a good product, usually it all works out and you want to work with it. So we look for that. The other thing is, we'll say if this product is going to cost us X dollars a year, will it save us that much in return? Will it, if I've got an employee here who essentially is billable at $80 an hour, but licensing this product will save her 20 hours a week, and the product costs less than $1,600, then it just becomes simple math.
Yeah.
And so if this person says, if we have this product, I will spend 10 hours less a week sending invoices, and that means I can be billable doing this, then I say, great, the ROI is clearly there.
So I guess the takeaway from that in regard to really being able to avoid the shiny red ball syndrome of new tech and all that is really, first of all, is there a way to actually engage and make use of this product with kind of like a free trial, so you can even test and make sure that it makes sense for your group in the first place? So free trial first, and then secondly, really getting down to the numbers. The person who's using this tool, how much it's costing you versus to hire the person versus how much time they can save, and really get down to the nitty-gritty of their work, and so you can do the numbers and see does this make sense, right? I guess that's the point I make it from there. And so go ahead.
I would say, our rule of thumb is if either a lower cost resource can do the job or a robot can do the job, they should be. So, there are things here that only a person can do. Only a person can sit down, look at a website and say, this is how to create a great mobile plan for this website. But there are tools that can manage task lists. So I want that person thinking about how to develop a great mobile strategy, not how to manage a task list.
Definitely. And so what are those tools that you currently use because we've been talking about tools that you use to foster team collaboration in your business.
Sure.
And people might be wondering, okay, what are the tools that you use? And go ahead, explain.
Sure. First of all, start with the free tools. So Google has, Gtalk, Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Sites. All those allows you to collaborate and share documents virtually, share information virtually. Skype, obviously, great tool. So be using that. That kind of covers a lot of the free tools we look at. In terms of licensed tools, we use a tool called VertiBase, which is a web-based project management system, and I'm very, very happy with that tool. We use a public relations outreach tool called Vocus, which basically allows us to contact reporters.
I didn't hear that.
Vocus, V-O-C-U-S.
Oh, Vocus. Oh, yes. The people that bought the Help a Reporter company?
Correct.
Okay.
So the Vocus platform, instead of going out and searching for reporters and editors and analysts, which was taking our public relations person, half of her time was spent doing that. Vocus has a database that we can extract and identify reporters, analysts, etc. Right from that database. So that saves us a tremendous. It's an expensive product. It's tens of thousands of dollars a year to license, but it's still saving us even at that cost. So I don't look at what it's costing us. I'm looking at what it is saving us.
Yes.
Exactly. We use a tool called Raven, which basically it's specific for search engine optimization, but it allows us to scan a site and kind of crawl that site as Google would crawl it, and it helps us identify what errors are on the site. Again, I could have a programmer literally look line by line at code and say, well, there's an error on line 337 and an error here, and this image is missing an alt tag, or the software can do and identify those things in minutes. Again, does it cost a lot? It does, but it saves even more. We have our own social media monitoring tool called Spiderfly that basically crawls blogs and Twitter and Facebook and looks for comments about our clients. Again, we can have a person literally looking to see every time one of our clients blogged about or tweeted about or Facebooked about, or we can have this tool that will go through and identify those for us automatically. We use QuickBooks for all of our accounting because we have a part-time office manager who's in the office sometimes and not sometimes. We have a part-time CFO who's only in the office once a month, and then we have an accountant who's here about twice a year. So the three of them really never see each other, but they use this, they use QuickBooks, which is web-based, and so they can all collaborate, one from a tax perspective, one from a day-to-day accounting perspective, and one from a strategic financial perspective. They're all using that software. We use Sorry?
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
We use GoToMeeting, which is a virtual meeting software. And we also use that for training. So we deliver monthly webinars as well as paid training online. GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar are very inexpensive, good, reliable products that work. It's great for web-based meetings, web-based projects, web-based training. So that's kind of a snapshot. I'm sure I'm missing one or two, but in general, we rely heavily on these tools.
And I can see how you made the distinction by, is there a free way to start out, and also is there a way to put down the numbers to make sure that we actually do indeed saving money by using this tool. But then there comes the part of the integration of the tool itself to your system, because that in itself is work. So
exactly.
what challenges do you face with that? Because you understand my point?
Yes, absolutely. Part of it, we're very, very process driven. So we've got a couple folks here. We have one person here kind of built our project management process, and literally everything we do is in a gigantic process doc. And it will say, use Vocus to identify these bloggers, use Spiderfly to track your media pickups, run a Raven report. So it's very, very process driven. So we keep the team on task by really having a very tight, structured project management process. But we also now have a full-time person here, and her job is basically managing and coordinating all the resources and all the software. So her job is, everything that a client does that's another, we have a CRM system where we track new business opportunities. So from the time it goes to a new business opportunity, to our analysis tools, to our project management tools, to our reporting tools, to sending the invoice, we have one person here who's really responsible for making sure all those things work together and that the process kind of sews everything together. And people here also know that because they work from home a lot, because they're on the road a lot, that if they don't use those tools, they can't be effective. So it's kind of an approach where, if someone were to send an email and say, hey, I've got an issue with this website, I need help figuring out this problem, our traffic copier, Sarah, would say, no, that's got to go into Vertibase. So it's immediate, we're stopping it there, getting them back in the process, and then, things get taken care of.
When you said process driven, you already blew my mind with a lot of questions, and then now you're saying you have somebody on staff that basically their whole job is to figure out how these tools integrate with one another. That's another whole bunch of questions. So I'm trying to keep down the excitement so we can dig into each one, because I should be even writing these questions down, please. But anyways, so in regards to the systems part, I mean, how did that go initially? Was it you had to buckle down and really think about how each systems integrate with one another for your business, or did you just outrightly just hire somebody who had that experience, who was a systems engineer? I'm trying to walk back to how it was initially to where you are with the whole thing with the systems focus.
Sure. There was a point, it was probably about 2007, 2008, where we were growing very rapidly. We were literally doubling quarter over quarter. We were hiring people quickly. We were onboarding clients. And it got moving so fast that we really said, okay, we're licensing software, we're hiring people, we're getting new clients, our growth is so fast, we need someone that's going to kind of be responsible for this. And there was someone on staff, fortunately, who had the experience, with really detailed software project management type projects. We moved her for her position into that role of, okay, take the resources, take the software, take the processes, and really rein that in. So we identified that the need was there. We knew we were spending a lot on these tools. We wanted to make sure we were getting the most out of them. So we identified someone, at that rapid growth stage who built those processes. And so it was kind of the need was very obvious and arose that we needed someone to kind of own those tools and those processes.
And I like so far what I'm hearing from you is like when you feel the pain is when you work on the pain. It's kind of like yes, you have a game plan of what you're trying to do, but when the pain comes is when you attack it. It's not like you're just trying to figure out everything all at once. That's the sense I'm getting from this.
Right. I always say don't borrow trouble. So it's great to look ahead. It's great to have a vision ahead, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of kind of thinking about what their pain is going to be in 6 months and trying to solve that today. I think you've got to be, if you're an entrepreneur, especially in a fast-growing business, you've got to be about action. You've got to be about executing and taking the action that's going to impact your business right now. And when it gets to that, that pain point of, okay, this has become an issue, let's address it now. Because you may be looking at something that you think is going to be an issue in 6 months, and you're solving a problem that you may never actually have. It may be 6 months out, and the world has changed so much that that's not going to be an issue. So one of my philosophies around here is drive it till the wheels fall off. keep going, keep executing. As long as you're successful, and when you start to feel the wheel shake a little, that's when you say, okay, now we're going to solve this problem.
And in your case, you said you already had someone on board that you felt had that ability to come in and handle the systems and all, and drawing out the processes and how the different tools work together. But in the case of someone who's listening right now who doesn't even have that someone in their team that
Right.
can do that, what advice will you give them, or what steps you think they would have to take to in order for them to figure it out themselves, and maybe
Right.
hopefully in the future delegate this whole process, like you have someone on your team, to someone else? But
Sure.
go ahead.
Sure. I would say, again, look at very clearly what your needs are. Kind of do an audit. Say, here's the tools we have. Here's the resource we have. Here's the people we have. And it's a big puzzle. How do I plug this all together? One thing I would say, though, again, I don't believe in spending money frivolously, but I believe you've got to invest in your business or it's never going to be successful. So there's going to be a time when it's going to make sense for you as the entrepreneur to say, I can spend my time looking at all the systems and the people and trying to, put this puzzle together, or I can spend time trying to grow my business. I think ultimately most entrepreneurs, tend to skew more of a, action-oriented, type of person. And I think that's not always, I think the person you need to build that process is more of that process, logical, analytical, step-by-step mindset. And so I think one of the things I would say is if you're rapidly growing, if you are in an industry where that, you think a year from now you're going to be 20 or 30 or 50% bigger, get that person in place because it's going to save you so many growing pains. And again, if you want to spend your time, putting a process together, looking at every software license and every bit and every code, or do you want to be out there talking to new clients and talking to investors and talking to, recruiting the best employees that you can and developing your next generation of products? I think it's much better spent to be saying, this is how I'm going to lead my company into the future, and I'm going to hire really smart people that can build the processes.
And I like what you said because it's really kind of, getting that mindset off your mind that you don't have to do everything. Just find the right person to handle it. And so let's follow that train of thought where you going out there to find the right person to handle it. But that entrepreneur looking for somebody to do this, what you're saying, what do they have to be looking for in that person? You understand the question is what kind of skills or what kind of experience does that person need to have in order for them to be sure that this is the right person to take over this task of integrating all my different tools together so that we can indeed be virtual?
Right. You need someone who's highly analytical, someone who's very, very process driven, someone that likes, the documentation person, the person that likes to document step-by-step processes. There's a certain mindset that goes with that. So as a kid, I was never the kid that liked to put together puzzles and model cars. I hated doing that. But kids that like to do that kind of stuff, that's the perfect, they turn into adults that like to do this kind of stuff. So look for someone that's highly analytical, highly process-driven. I think on the HBDI, it's the B quadrant, I think, that has the, those highly analytical, process-driven skills. And this is going to naturally cause, and it's a good, I call it a healthy tension. Your entrepreneur and your action-oriented people are going to be out there saying, let's push, let's drive, let's do the next big thing. And your process people are going to say, let's make sure we've got a scalable, repeatable process in place. Let's make sure we can make this profitable. Let's sure the numbers work. Let's make sure the process works. And you need both sides. If you spend all your time on the process, then you never innovate and you're dead in the water. But if you spend all your time just going out and pushing, you never get something that's scalable and repeatable. You need both sides. So yeah, find that analytical, process-driven person. And this has to be a tough person. So, a lot of times it's someone who's been, 5, 10, 20 years experience, because not everybody's going to like this person. They have to be the bad guy. They have to be the one that says, Owen, I know you want to just send me an email on this, but you can't. It's got to go into the system because otherwise it could get lost and we'll lose the reporting and the tracking. So they can't be afraid to be the bad guy too. And a lot of times the entrepreneur, the owner wants to be the one everybody loves. So you kind of need that they've got that maturity and that level of confidence that they're okay telling people, well, no, I know we've done it this way up until now, but from now on, all our reporting has to go into this database.
Definitely. And there comes a time too where you might say, oh yes, we want to put it into a system, but then how do you bridge the gap between making it so easy so that the process moves smoothly and having a system that makes it look like it's kind of like a bottleneck of stuff that you have to go through? You understand what I'm saying?
Sure, I do. And I think that there is a delicate balance there, but I think that's really solved. I think it's the entrepreneur's job to always be driving innovation and to always be saying, what's the next product, what's the next service, what's the next thing we do, and the entrepreneur's job is to kind of upset that process a lot, to say, this is we've never done mobile marketing before, and we're going to start doing it on April 1st. And we're going to have a mobile marketing product. And your process person then has to put that all together and innovate that and make that scalable. So you've got to, I think it's really the job of the entrepreneur to always be saying, here's the next big thing, here's the next big thing. Upset the world at process person and make the process person tame it and make it repeatable. There's a phrase that's used a lot in software and in marketing where people talk about a company becomes a turn the crank company. They become so process oriented that their employees just kind of sit there and turn a crank. There's no innovation. And in our industry, that's when you're finished. When you stop innovating, your clients start leaving you looking for the next hot agency that's doing something different. So the balance is, and I think this goes back to a lot of your question, how do we get something that's a process, that is manageable, that fits in this box, but at the same time, we don't have employees just turning a crank and we're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and one last question to really paint this whole thing of being virtual and making use of tools and technology available to run your business. So just like what I'm trying to do is give the users, the listeners, kind of like the different systems that you have from when you have a client that is interested in something that you guys offer, maybe like they see a blog post about something you guys are doing, and then I'm sure that's kind of like a CRM system that gets the information. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, the different systems and how they match together so we can paint this picture from all the way from prospect all the way to client and the systems you have in place to handle this so that the audience can really see how that goes.
Sure. I'll try to remember them all here, but I'll start off. So let's say we identify a new client comes to us off our website. They hit the contact form. That goes into our CRM system as an opportunity. It's tagged as maybe a healthcare lead. So I pick that up. I use Google Tools and I schedule an appointment on Google Calendar with whoever needs to be on that initial call with that prospect. Someone on our search team will run a Raven report and say, okay, this is the client's website. It's a hospital system in Tallahassee, and here's what their website looks like from a search perspective. Our social media team will run a Spiderfly report, which is a social media tool, and say, they tend to have, bloggers tend to talk about this hospital a lot. Primarily female bloggers from 35 to 50 say positive things about this hospital. I get on a Skype call with that client, and I say, all right, this is some of the research. Maybe I'll do a go-to-meeting, and I'll say, here's the graphs. You can see your search traffic is actually much lower than your competitors, but on social media, you're doing really strong. You've got a great Twitter presence. We've identified you have, 3,000 followers in the greater Tallahassee area. And so I'll go through our initial research with them. I'll put the notes of my call back into our CRM system. Let's say they go ahead and they sign a contract with us. We create what's called a client CID, a client information doc. That goes into our Google Docs. That goes into our project management system. That goes into our invoicing system, and it goes into our CRM. So that kind of goes 4 different places.
Wow. I like the way you paint the picture, because when I said that, I was like, I want him to paint this picture so that people can really understand that it's really about process, systems, and really integrating everything with technology to really allow you to be virtual, because without that, you really cannot be virtual.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You need the technology and the tools and the people to do it.
Definitely. And one last question before I let you go is, we're all busy entrepreneurs, and I'm always trying to find out from entrepreneurs, why even take the time to be on my show just talking about this in the first place?
I love to talk about this. I love what I do. I always say I could never go back to work again. I feel like I've been unemployed the last 5 years because it doesn't feel like work to me. So I love talking about it. I love connecting with other entrepreneurs. I love sitting down. I think entrepreneurs immediately have a lot in common, a lot of common connections, a lot of common sources of pride and frustration. So love the opportunity for any chance to connect with other business owners. So thanks a lot for your time.
Yeah. Because sometimes it can feel very lonely being an entrepreneur. Maybe people are like, this guy's a little bit crazy with the risk and all that. And just with technology these days, everybody who's an entrepreneur has a means to connect with one another. It's beautiful.
Right. Absolutely.
Definitely. Great. And Bill, how best can my community get a hold of you?
The best way to reach us is at webbedmarketing.com. You can also follow me on Twitter. We're at webbedmarketing. It's probably the 2 best ways to reach out to us.
Thank you very much for doing the interview. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Owen. I really appreciate it.
And we're done. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And before you go, I want you to do me a favor. I'm trying to build my community of entrepreneurs who find my content useful on Facebook so we can engage, have discussions live right there on Facebook. And to get to my page on Facebook, you go to www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And again, it's www.com. What am I saying? No, it's www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And when you get there, what you're gonna do is look for the a button that says like, and you click on that button, and then basically you become a fan of the page. It's that simple. You don't even have to leave me your email. Just click on the button that says like. And again, the page to go to is www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And that stands for HYVAssistant. Real easy. I look forward to seeing you on Facebook. Have a great day.